For every 1% that you go from E10 to E15, every 1% uses another 500 million bushels of corn. 5 percentage points, or going from 10 to 15 would be 2.5 billion bushels of corn more to grind if we could have around E15.
Welcome back to the Cornelius Seed Podcast. Today, we're diving into corn demand and places that most farm conversations never go. I'm joined by Iowa Corn Promotion Board Chair Ralph Lents to talk global trade from places like Argentina and China, how ethanol demand is evolving, and why India and Southeast Asia are suddenly on the radar for U.S. ethanol and DDGs. We hit on some wild and very real opportunities too, from corn-based performance fabric to ethanol-powered ships, a 98% ethanol tractor, and how carbon pipelines could swing Iowa corn prices and likely come back in focus sooner than folks expect. If you want a grounded look at where corn demand is actually growing and why it matters here in the Midwest, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Ralph, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
So I know I can spend hours talking about just one topic, and but I think we should just start off with first, who is Ralph Lents? I know you were president of Iowa Corn Promotion Board. You're chair now. A little bit about your background for the folks that might not be familiar, if you will.
From western Iowa, about 50 miles west of Des Moines. Corn, soybean, hay, beef cattle herd. I farm with my brother and his nephew. My nephew, his son. and we're through harvesting. Harvesting went pretty well for us this year. So the rust was a killer for us. But we're done. We're ready to market some things. We got to get this tariff thing going in our direction, which it started with this soybean deal.
I mean, jumping into the tariffs, China, it had been stale. They hadn't bought, really, from what I can see, any beans this year at all. Then, we did a little bit of currency exchange with Argentina. Somehow their markets were a little bit more inviting to them, and then they bought up some beans from them, which then felt like pouring salt in the wound for us. President Trump just gave an update with some conversations with President Xi out in China. What's your perspective on it and on what's happening? I guess what's the latest that you can share with us?
The trade deal with China, of course, it's not said it's signed yet, but it's promised. We'll see how it works. They committed to 12 million metric tons here before the end of the year, of which they've already bought beans before Trump and China met. They were buying beans in here with the government shut down. We didn't know what was going on, but they were buying beans beforehand, knowing that what they were going to agree to in the settlement or in the agreement. So they got a head start on us, and they were buying beans cheaper. So, since they signed the deal, beans have moved up 50, 60 cents a bushel. But it's a good deal for all soybean growers. That's a market we need to have. China was 62% of our export market. And without those guys, beans had very little future. And now at least we got a little bit of this settled. It's headed in the right direction. As long as they hold them to their agreements on the coming year, doing 25 million bushel, it will be a good deal for the soybean people.
Well, excellent. And then, so you said they've committed to roughly about 12 billion a year. That's for, I think, for the next 3 years. Was that right?
The 12 were just for this year.
Just for this year. Okay. Now it's hard to compare it. What do you know what average had been for previous years roughly? Is that on par with what they had been doing, or?
Last year we sold 27 million metric tons of beans. So the agreement for next year is 25. So we're really close to what we did last year with them.
Excellent. And then, and you mentioned, obviously they're 60% plus of the business for it. And even here in-house in the country, a limitation is those crush plants, right? So to using it for other purposes with that still there. So this Chinese conversation kind of overlapped right around, the conversation around payments going out to growers. And I hate calling it payments. So many people, and this is my opinion, I guess to be clear, anything that we talk about isn't market advice, which we're not going to be, and a lot of it's Ralph and I's opinions. But it sometimes it feels like when a farmer gets some kind of help coming from as a result of a situation like this, really perfect example of the tariffs, folks are like, hey, it's a farmer handout. But I think so many people fail to see is like sometimes it feels like the farmer is used as a conduit to just move funds to other folks or different input providers. Um, and so but that whole rant goes to this China conversation happened right around the whole thing where there is going to be relief for some soybean growers. Have you seen anything else out there on, are folks anticipating relief still now with this happening, or kind of what's that look like, and what have you seen historically when things like this have happened?
They are going to go ahead and still do their aid package to farmers. They got to get back in the, get the Congress opened up, but their intention is to get some kind of an aid package out to farmers. Right now, it's real top heavy with soybeans. As a member of the Corn Association, we'd like to get a little bit of money out of that, but right now it's not in the plan. But all the crops have suffered from the tariffs because of our inputs. We get inputs in from other countries, and there's tariffs against that. So it drives up our costs of planting crops. So we're affected, even though it's not so much on the selling it's just the inputs. But we should get a portion of that aid. If they're going to do an aid package, they need to give it to all crops and not just soybeans. Soybeans probably has taken the biggest hit, but we've all suffered damage.
Oh, absolutely. And that's Secretary Rollins has been making her rounds, getting on networks and talking about some of that stuff. But is there organizations like you guys are out there with boots on the ground and helping drive some of these conversations? What as a whole, and I'm kind of backtracking here, but what does the Iowa Corn Promotion Board do for the Iowa corn farmer?
Our number one goal is to find more uses for corn. We want to grind more corn. We want to find more supply, or to create more demand for our supply and get better markets. And right now we're looking at a lot of different ethanol issues, aviation fuel. I got one at the end of the podcast I'll spring on you that nobody's really heard about yet. But anything we can drive ethanol demand, research, we're constantly looking for new uses of corn for that. Recently, Eddyville, the ethanol plant down there, made a deal, and they're working with Lululemon, doing some clothing things for women. Fucking
Fibers.
Products of corn or ethanol. The list is unlimited. What we're pulling off and doing. We're really getting in the weeds, looking for new uses.
Oh man, I want to have to make sure my wife's buying that stuff. I'm gonna check the tag and make sure it's made with corn.
I hope so.
Right. So but there was recent conversation, and I thought I saw a blog that you may have worked on helping on looking for business for the corn producer, and Vietnam, India had kind of come up, right? India is one of the most populous countries in the world. But can you shed any light on that, or?
Yeah, I can a little bit. Iowa, the governor's been over there twice. India's come back once here. They are very interested in buying ethanol. They want to clean up their air. And they're also interested in DGGs, which is the byproduct of ethanol to feed to, they're mainly interested in dairy right now, but really where they need to go is with their poultry production. That's where we're doing a lot of good. But yeah, we had some deals in the works. And then our president and their president kind of got into a pissing, excuse my French. And anyway, everything kind of got cold water thrown on it. But since then, everything's kind of settled down, and they're in the mode where they want to make an agreement with the United States now to buy ethanol and DGGs. It's coming real soon, which will be a big market for us. So along with that idea, I would like to plug that a lot of Southeast Asian countries are all worried about their air, want to clean up their air quality, and they're all looking to buy more ethanol. And I mean, every country over there. It's going to be a great deal for us to send the ethanol over there if we can keep Brazil out of our way.
That's super interesting with that. So one of the things, actually, we get Brazil out of the way. One of the things that I think conversations that have that tie into ethanol and the success of ethanol is for us has been pipelines. Pipelines have been kind of under the radar here recently. There hasn't been a whole lot of news for it, but you kind of mentioned this before we got on, is that the governor of Iowa did veto a bill that came across her desk. The bill didn't seem very favorable to what we wanted to look like, so we were probably okay with it being vetoed. However, it's going to come up again, and it's going to be sensationalized again. So before it does, tell us your perspective on it.
The CO2 is capturing the carbon dioxide off of our ethanol plants, putting it in a pipeline and shipping it across the state. It was originally going to North Dakota, but South Dakota's kind of threw a monkey wrench into it. I don't know where that's going to end up, but if it doesn't go to North Dakota, we have another state to go to with it. I won't say at the moment where it's at, but we do have an outlet for it if we go ahead and decide to do it or can get it done. There's a lot of resistance to it, but in polling amongst our members, the majority of them are for the pipeline. Now, I wish people that are against it, I mean, the first thing is they don't want a pipeline going across their land, their farms. And I get that. I get it. You know, everybody's got land and they can do with it what they want, as long as, you know, they don't use eminent domain against them where they can declare they want to go across it. But I'd like everybody to have their land rights. And that's a policy Iowa Corn has, is we want everybody to have their land rights. In this bill, when somebody doesn't want it to go across their land, they only give you a 1 mile leeway to go around them. Well, if a farmer owns everything up and down the road for a couple of miles and he's against it, you'll never get around him because the bill says you only go 1 mile. So it needs to be rewritten so you can go 3, 4, 5 miles around them, wherever you can find somebody that's acceptable to have the pipeline, so it doesn't get stopped. Just goes around them, and they, you know, the guy that doesn't have it, I mean, he should be happy because it's not on his land, and his neighbor wants it. Well, that's his prerogative, you know.
Yep.
So, but what I wish everybody would take a look at is what it does for the price of corn in our ethanol plants. It's a substantial price increase if this thing flies, and we bring it and start selling it for aviation fuel. We'll have substantial raise in the price per bushel of corn. Without it, we're behind because Nebraska has already went ahead with their plans. Illinois has got places where they can dump it in the ground right where their ethanol plants are. Iowa gets left behind, and the price of our ethanol will go down. When the ethanol goes down, the price of corn goes down. And all of a sudden, if you're a landlord, you can't cash rent your land for as much because those farmers aren't selling their corn for as much. It affects everybody. They need to take a long, hard look at it with an open mind and say, fine, I don't want it, but don't let my neighbor, if my neighbor wants it, don't stop that. And it's to Iowa and every farmer in the central part of the country favor to do it.
What are some resources that you think are your go-to to hear what is the latest thing happening with that? You know, there's a lot of opinions out there, and I'm always curious, you know, and there no one opinion is a silver bullet either, right? But I guess how does Ralph like to get informed as you're making up an opinion on these things?
Well, I'd like to put a plug in that at Iowa Corn, we have committees. And anybody that's a member of Iowa Corn can apply to get on these committees. And they're broken down into segments. I mean, we've got a exports and grain committee. We got an ethanol committee. We got a research committee, animal ag and environment. But anybody that's a member, apply to get on these committees, and you get in on the ground floor of these things. You get to hear what's going on. I mean, it's a great way to get the information directly from the horse's mouth, from industry leaders, and you're in the know. I mean, you're not depending on somebody on the radio giving their opinion. You're hearing the absolute truth of what's going on, and how we can make things better in this country. But I don't know. There's a lot of things going on. We're working on research. Another thing we do with research, I didn't say earlier, is that we sponsor. I'll call it a contest, but it's a deal where companies can come in and apply. There's a cash reward at the end of it to help develop their idea, to make it come to fruition where it will help the industry. But we had a company, we had 130 different companies apply for this thing. It was a contest. And they're worldwide. They're not just American companies. And you're seeing ideas that we've never ever thought about on uses of corn. They're looking for seed money. And if they do the top 2 or 3 in this, we help supply some seed money to get them going so they can bring those ideas and get them market ready. And it takes a few years for this to happen, but we're working on it. We're looking for new uses of corn, and there's just lots of different things. I'll tell you another one. E15 is a thing that we fight year in and year out. This is a year that we need to get year-round E15 passed. With passage of E15, for every 1% that you go from E10 to E15, every 1% uses another 500 million bushels of corn. 5 percentage points, or going from 10 to 15 would be 2.5 billion bushels of corn more to grind if we could have around E15. Yeah. There's just lots of things out there. If we could just get Congress on our side to get some things going, we could have a lot of demand for corn.
Oh my goodness.
Really improve these markets.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. I as you get on the Iowa Corn website, any of those ones, you do get the high level of, hey, here's what we're doing. We're exploring markets out there in Vietnam or India, et cetera, to get more business. We're doing some research to help see other uses. There's lots of uses out there. You talked about that, and it reminded me of early on. It seemed like the oil company, I forgot what the union it's called, of an industry folks, association for the oil folks, they were on board with it first. They were saying, oh yes, and vouching for it. Then here in the last week, I thought I read an article that talked about how they were in a way rescinding their support because they referred to Iowa and other states nearby that had applied for exemptions, and saying that well, hey, we've invested a lot of money in making boutique fuel is how they refer to it. And then I guess I'm not sure. I wanted to bring that up to see if you've come across that or have heard about that, or was it just one random article I came across that.
Yeah. I'm going to give you one more little tidbit. We're working on a new project. It's not only Iowa, it's national. But the Maritime people, the ship people, they get the bottom end of the barrel to burn for their fuel all the time. So they get all the dark, heavy stuff that smokes. They want to clean up their industry. They're very much interested in ethanol. Totally new market. And they're very interested in burning ethanol to help them get to where they want to be. Something you've never heard about, but start thinking of all the ships out there in the ocean if they start burning ethanol.
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I actually, it was when the Suez Canal had to close up shop, and I'm this is obviously past COVID, and when you learn a lot about all the maritime traffic, and then just looking in to see how much. A long story short, Suez Canal closing down really opened my eyes to how many lanes there are and how many ships are out there to get products from the other side of the world here, and vice versa too. But we import a lot, so that's a cool nugget. When do you think something like that can bubble up into?
It's years down the road, before we bring it around. But you got to start on it.
Absolutely,
You got to start. I don't know how long it would take. I do know that shipbuilders are already starting to build engines for these ships to burn cleaner fuels. I know that's happening.
Oh my goodness.
There was another topic I didn't really talk about. John Deere has just developed a tractor. It's experimental, but they've got one out there showing it burns 98% ethanol, 98% ethanol. And it's cool. It's cool.
How cool would it be to grow the crop that is going to fuel your equipment, right? And that's I think what it kind of comes down to is, like you said, none of this stuff is overnight. However, we need to look now, right? We need to be looking now to what are these other future uses. There's lots of advancement in technology, another creative way to look at things, and you guys are doing that. What excites you the most out of all the things you've talked about? I'm sure you get this question a lot, right? But which is the one that makes you?
I'm excited for the most. The first one that comes to fruition and sell and more corn involvement, so we can get rid of more supply. The first one that hits the market, I'm for it.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And it's so many industries that you have to get involved with right to learn on and get the latest on. ICGA members have been vocal about, fertilizer monopolies, for lack of a better word here. Have you seen any patterns in these input costs squeezing margins out of the corn growers? And does your organization get involved in some of those conversations? What are your thoughts around that?
Last week, we sent our whole policy team to Washington, D.C. with our president on the grower side. He testified in front of Congress about this. He gave a written testimony, and they're investigating this. There is some price gouging going on, and we have a lawsuit. I mean, talking NCJ, the national, there's a ongoing lawsuit against these people. The companies with the fertilizers production, and I can't discuss the case very much. It's been an ongoing case for about a year and a half. It's coming to an end, so everybody just kind of pay attention, but it's kind of leaning in our favor right now.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I respect that. In the topic of pay attention, one of the things that I feel like are easy for me to get swayed or pulled on is I'm scrolling on social media and I see something that ticks me off. You said this earlier is, get on a committee, Iowa Corn, on the commercial board, get on a committee here at ground level, really from the horse's mouth, what is really happening out there. But is there, what tip would you give to somebody that might be having a hell of a year, right? Maybe it's been tough in the cattle world, or maybe, got our butt kicked with the crop, and prices are the way they are. How does someone get informed from your perspective?
There's lots of them out there, and I really don't want to name anything particular.
That's fair. Nope,
I don't want to show any favoritism, but yeah, there's some out there, but you got to really trust everything they do, because they need to be unbiased, show both sides of the story. I mean, you can build cases for anything if you just put one side out there all the time. But, I would say use multiple sources. Just don't narrow yourself down to one source or two source. Do multiple sources. Whenever there's meetings, corn, soybean meetings in your area, go to them. We have district level type meetings and things like that. And go and get acquainted with some members, or we have district people out there, drive corn cars around. You'll probably run across one sooner or later. Have a conversation with them, find out what's going on. Anybody that that's related to any producer group, have a conversation, because we all work together. We get together once in a while as all of us producer groups, and compare and try to help each other with everything that's going on. But as corn, we're involved with USMEF. That's a U.S. Meat Export Federation. We need those people. We need animals and everything. We're a member. We're involved with it. We're interested in what they do and what their exports are and what they look like. at times we've had somebody sit on their board. I sat on their board here a while back. I was there for a couple of years. So I got a big exposure to meat exports. And that's a real eye opener too.
Oh, no, that it definitely is. There is there's definitely a lot out there. How does somebody become a member of the Iowa Corn Promotion Board?
Well, basically you need to become a corn member and buy a membership to the association. And the promotion board, I don't know. You just get elected to it. As far as a board itself,
Okay.
as a member, you are a member. And if you're selling corn and paying a check off, you're a member.
Well, I mean, and that's huge. Then thank you. Hell, between Maritime Fuel and Lululemon, that might be the biggest one for me to promote out there, right? Is that so many times we don't realize there's opportunities right in front of us, and it's a chance to get involved. And we've been big on pushing this. We're pushing this at the next grower meeting that's gonna come up for the post harvest meetings with Cornelius Seed, and it's just gonna be how can we continue to get the voice of the farmer out there, right? It's getting smaller and smaller, uh, but it can be loud. It can still be loud, but it's still the voice is heavy, and so anybody can get out there, especially if you're involved. We're almost out of time, but I do want to hit you with a couple things. One thing mainly, something I like to ask folks that are new to our show is around like young growers out there or the future. What is something that you would have told 19-year-old Ralph Lents getting out into the industry that you've learned now along the way?
Get involved at a young age in organizations. College type kids, we've got a college program where they can become members of the Corn Association, come to meetings and get training and things. It's called our CAT team, but it's strictly college kids. Later in life, no, not later, but once they get in the business world, we've got a leaders program, help train new leaders to ag and everything. It's a 2-year program, but it comes through Iowa Corn and it's really good. It's really well thought of in the whole industry. The next thing you need to do when you're 19 years old, tell our story. Talk about agriculture and all the good things that we're doing and how much we care about the land and everybody that consumes our food and the water quality that we have. Tell our story.
You're absolutely right. I'm still amazed at the learning about the uses of corn. We're not even talking about, and I know you're saying this from olive ag, whether it's cotton or potatoes or whatever it is. Tell our story. Any closing thoughts or things that you think that folks should keep at top of mind?
I would just say that as a board, as an organization, both sides of our organization, we have our number one concern is making every corn farmer profitable. We want everybody to succeed, and we realize, the markets aren't good, and we got to do everything we can to increase demand and get more corn grind. And that's what we're fighting every day for everybody. And I hope they realize it. Sometimes they think we're all about doing trips and everything. Like, our trips are not trips. They are missions. I've been on missions, and it's fun, but it's not fun. We work every day that we're on a mission.
Oh, 100%. And I saw this recently is if it's not our people doing it, it's going to be the people from Argentina doing it, or it's going to be the Brazilian people going out there making these exact same missions, promoting their product and their corn. And it's exactly the people that we're competing against. So lovely folks, lovely weather, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of hard work that you guys are out there doing, and thank you for that, and some of your colleagues that are out there is I really appreciate your time and getting on here and just really just sharing what are these other things. I didn't anticipate the conversation to go this way, but I'm glad it did. So, um, Ralph, Thank you for joining us. I hope this is just one of many conversations you can work on helping us get more updates out there and helping us continue to tell the story.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. And I'm looking forward to another one.
Awesome. Great. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the Cornelius Seed Podcast. If you're not following, subscribe, go ahead and do so you can get notifications when Ralph comes on next. So until the next one.